Hey, welcome. My name is Brent. I'm going to work on a little project here. Found this in a junkyard. This is a part of a workout bench or workout rig if you want. The best part is it was free. So I'm going to try to turn it into an engine run stand. It's got a lot of things that might be useful. It's got some cables, it's got some pulleys, and we're going to take it apart. We're going to try to make it adjustable and to pretty much run any engine, fuel injected or carbureted. So let's see how it goes. I'm going to start taking it apart. Okay, so there we go. We've got it all taken apart. It took me about 15 minutes. You can see that we've got some good metal, we've got some pulleys right there, got some cables, got some hardware, all sorts of things. And just to give you an idea of the concept, is right here we have a modern 5.7 Hemi engine. The idea is to be able to mount this engine in this stand and run it when we're all done. So let's get to work. Okay, I'm going to show you the progress I've made on my engine run stand thus far. Now keep in mind that everything I've done so far I've done without welding. It's just been cutting, and I'm doing that for two reasons. One is to show you can build one without a welder, and two is I would like to be able to take this apart. Now I am eventually going to weld myself, but you don't have to with what I've been doing. Okay, here's our progress so far. You can see we've got a fair bit done. What I plan on doing next is mounting these side rails. So I'm going to create a bracket. We're going to put a couple plates like that and one on the bottom. Now again, if I'm going to end up welding this, and you can bolt it here in two places. So you can put a bolt here and put a couple bolts here. And this will secure it. I'm going to weld mine on, but I'm going to leave this bolted so that I can remove these legs and disassemble the unit. The other thing you see I've done is I've taken the slider from the workout rack and I've left it on here so it can slide back and forth, and that's where my engine mounts will go, and it'll provide me with the adjustability I need. I kind of imagine something like having a vertical bar like that and these angling up to meet the engine. A closer look at the legs. You can see that I've cut a section out, and I've made this from the outside edge. It's about 30 inches wide. I've taken this section out of it. I've done that on both sides. Right now you can see that I have this just bolted in. Now this would not work. You want it to, you extend the bracket and put two bolts. One here, one about there. And that will keep it from pivoting. I am going to box mine. So I'm going to have a bottom plate and a top plate. At the very least, you're going to need a bottom plate. And I'll keep the legs from wobbling like that. And that involves some welding. So if you don't want to weld, make the bracket longer, drill another hole, and put two bolts per side. Okay, after about 8 or maybe 10 hours of work, this is what we've got. The basic frame built. You can kind of get the idea of what I'm going after here. I've welded on some brackets to hold the crossbars. The reason being is I want this to be able to come apart so that I can put it away and tuck it in a corner if I have to. Here's, I discussed earlier, there's going to be a sliding mount for the uprights, for the engine mounts. And then up here the rad will be mounted at the front, probably an electric fan. But I've got enough room for a mechanical fan if need be. I made the length about 48 inches wide, so it should be fine. And that's it so far. Not bad for a weekend's work and not really knowing what I'm doing.
Here you can see I installed the vertical supports and decided to triangulate these so that I could adjust both width and height and work in conjunction with the back mount. This is our first test mount. You can see that it's supporting the engine pretty good. Still have to put the back mount in. At this point I've got the back mount in, So let's see how it works out.
Proof of concept here, test number 1. All right, there we go. Get in there. All right, well, we got things wired up a little bit better. So we got a power ignition switch there. Turns everything on. I got my start button here.
In this scene, you can see that I'm trying to figure out my control panel. In the next picture, you can see I've got one set up, and we're about to give it a try.
Okay, we're back on the engine stand. I'm going to do a test crank on it. You can see that I've got everything pretty much set up. The computer's talking to the programmer. It will not fire because I have to reprogram the computer. We come over here, this is our ignition switch. It gives us power to everything. We should be able to come over here and look at our trouble codes. Okay, good. Computer's talking. This controls our electric fan. We don't need that going while we're cranking. This is our start button, so let's give it a shot. There you go. That's all working now. I am giddy with anticipation right now. Not only was I able to finally get myself a fab haircut, but I received my computer back with the necessary modifications to allow me to run my internal combustion motivator on the stand. If this works, it's going to be loud. I better find myself some earmuffs. Well, I'm back with Hemi a la carte. Unfortunately, I've got a serious lack of internal combustion events going on, even with the reprogrammed computer. Allow me to demonstrate. Uh-oh. Okay, given the last sequence of events, or lack thereof, you might think I'm back at square one. However, that's not necessarily the case. Using a simple troubleshooting tool, such as the old test light here, which turns green for ground, red for power, I can figure a few things out. What I'm going to do is probe the connectors on the coil and on the injectors and see if we're getting a signal. Okay, I've got my test light connected to the coil connector. It's on the ASD side, which is the brown and white wire. That provides power to the coil and also the injectors. It's a common line. It provides it to all injectors, all coils. ASD stands for Auto Shutdown Relay. When I turn the power on, the test light should come on for approximately 3 seconds, then shut off. It won't come on again till I start cranking, when the crankshaft position sensor sends a signal which will close the ASD relay, allowing it to provide power. Let's see what happens. There we go, 3 seconds, cranking. Clearly, that's working how it's supposed to. Now I have the test light connected to the injector connector, also on the ASD side or the power side. Should do the exact same thing as it did with the coil. 3 seconds. Okay, that's clearly working. I expected that result because, like I said before, it's a common line to all injectors, all coils. Something I forgot to mention previously is I had the connector for the test light connected to the ground side, the probe end of the connector going to the power. That's what allowed it to turn red. This time I've reversed that. The connector for the test light is connected to a power source, and the probe is connected to the ground. The ground gets its signal from the PCM. Depending on how long it's grounded, that is your injector pulse width. So what we should expect to see this time when I'm cranking is a flashing green light. There you go. Injector is pulsing as it should be. Now I've returned the probe to the coil connector on the ground side, also controlled by the PCM. When I crank it, well, I'll turn the power on. You can see a momentary flash of green there. When I crank it, it should also pulse green. Well, you can see it's grounded right now. We got a little green light. Okay, as you can see, I don't have a green pulsing light. That means the PCM is not sending the signal to fire the coil. Gonna have to dig into this a little bit. So, I've now spent a little bit of time cruising the old digital interstate, and I believe I've come up with a working theory. In order to explain it, I might have to give you a bit of a history lesson. Let's go back to prior to 2009, when Chrysler would control the start signal for the vehicle via a hard wire and a relay. It would also look for a crankshaft position sensor signal, and if everything was good, she'd go, "Okay, skipper, fire her up." Well, that changed in approximately 2009 when they went to a wireless RF signal. Whoa. Okay, he might be giving you some wrong information, so we'll just push him aside for a moment. Alright, so in 2009, Chrysler went to what's called a CAN bus start command, not the wireless RFs, and that didn't come in until around 2012. So I just wanted to clarify that so I'm not giving you some incorrect information. And a lot of this is just what I can find out through research, and it might not be 100% accurate, but I'm doing the best I can with the information I can find out. Future me knows a little bit better now, so that's why I'm correcting it. Let's just pull him back in, see what he has to say. And the PCM is now looking for that signal before it'll allow the coils to energize. As you can imagine, this has caused me a bit of grief. There is a little bit of a light on the horizon because I have a 2010 PCM, and apparently that can be made to still use the hard wire. I'm going to have to dig into this. I'll let you know what I find. So, what I have behind me is my 2011 Dodge Charger RT all-wheel drive, which also has the 5.7 liter Hemi. I'm using it to try to replicate the problem I have on the engine stand with the other Hemi. If I can, then that'll get me a little bit closer to solving it. Here we are inside the Charger. I've got my key right here. I'm going to hit the start button right there. And we can see that it fires up as it should. Turn it off. Here you can see I have the car in the run position, just like the engine would be on the stand. It's ready to start. Now I'm going to go outside and bypass the start relay. Okay, we're under the hood of the Charger, and here is the fuse box, also known as the TIPM, which stands for Total Integrated Power Module. I'm going to take the cover off by squeezing the tabs on the side, 1 and 2. As I turn it over, we can see that the starter relay is right here. I've already pulled it out. That's where it goes. I'm going to jump over the 2 pins and get this to start by bypassing it. I have my test light in the coil, just like I did on the engine with the stand, and it's got the green light on it. Come over here, we get the jumper wire in the starter relay, touch it to here, and it should turn over. Well, as you can see, the car didn't start. It is in the run position, and we've got our green light back. So I've changed up the scenery a bit. Well, simply because I like the 38 Pontiac and the C10 in the back. But let's go back to what I was trying to figure out and what it told me. It pretty much confirmed my suspicions that the start command has to go through the PCM, otherwise it will not start the vehicle. It did exactly the same thing in the car as the engine did in the stand. Now, I just got to figure out how to overcome that. Okay, I'm back with Project Hemi L cart. Last time I tried to start this, didn't go so well. Turned over, didn't fire. I figured I had a problem with the CAN bus start command, and I needed to get rid of that. Fortunately, I found someone that could help me tune that out, so we've turned that off. I'm going to give it another shot. This is a factory PCM, factory wiring harness that's, well, it was pretty mutilated, but I spliced it back together and figured out where everything went, so let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. Success. Okay, obviously I'm pretty stoked about getting that engine to fire up on that run stand. It's been a bit of a project, but what else did I have to do during COVID times? Probably a few things, but hey, I did it anyways. So I pulled that out of a local dump. Honestly, for free, out of a dump. It was a workout home gym. I cut it up, turned it into a range and run stand that would meet my purposes. I wanted to practice my fabrication skills. That's why I did it. I had the engine sitting on the floor and I wanted to test it out. I had it for a while. I came out of a local junkyard. I got a 2-for-1 deal. I thought, what the heck, why not? So I grabbed it, snatched it up, and I wanted to see if it was any good. But I needed to run it to find out. I can do the basic mechanical stuff, but until you actually fire them up, you don't know. So I bought the wiring harness, came with the engine, PCM, the intake manifold, I got it at a little bit later time. Cost me about 200 bucks for that. So all total, with the stand, the engine, the PCM, the tuning, I've got less than $1,000 Canadian into that whole setup. I'm pretty happy about that, which means I could probably get an engine on average for at least $1,000 bucks with the PCM running, ready to go for a Hemi swap. So that's awesome. Also, if I pull an engine out of the yards now, I can test them out on the stand. Very happy about all of that. Huge shout out to Matthew at Tech Motion. Man, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been able to get that CAN bus start command tuned out as quick as I did. And thank you very much. That was awesome. Very thankful for that. Okay guys, I'm gonna go do some donuts celebratory in the front yard.